Hey everybody, Christian from Treasure Town here, and today we're going to be unboxing this package, which weighs about 60 pounds. We've got a massive amount of coins. I think I paid $9,000 for it, and so I can't wait to unbox it. It's going to be mostly German and Austrian, and I cannot wait to open it up. And here is the collection all splayed out. We've got tons of different sections. There's going to be incredible metals, some of which are going to be more modern restrikes, other which are going to be a bit older. We've got some cool, interesting thaler fraction coins, big metals here. We have a bunch of sweet, let's see, Notgeld. Wow, there's a lot of beautiful types in there. We've got some fantastic porcelain metals. We've got more porcelain metals and several different types, white and brown Meissen metals. There's some beautiful 1 mark German coins. I've got a lot of these pre-sold, and we've got even more of them here and here. Tons of interesting German imperial silver. We've got this interesting Notgeld album, and wow, I'm always amazed by all the beautiful German Notgeld. We've got tons of different more metals. As you can see, so many interesting types. Over here, more metals, albums of Notgeld, albums of Notgeld, albums of Notgeld. This one off the top, it's like a very interesting Bielefeld linen note. So there's just going to be a ton of great learning as we go throughout this hunt. It's going to take me a long time to film, and I just can't wait to truly tear into a great German coin collection. And this is going to be a fun walkthrough. We basically pulled everything out. I've taken a look at what we have, and I think the results are really good. There's still a little bit of metal unboxing that I need to do more of. There's a ton of very interesting items. I mean, look at all of these fascinating, all right, well, that one doesn't have a back, but some fascinating types all throughout. So much interesting history, and I think we got it at a pretty good price. Again, we're going to be starting this around, and it's probably already on the screen, $8,200 for everything here, though I did pay another tariff of about $900 when I think about the brokerage fee. We've got a ton of Notgeld as well. So I think I'm going to start, and I'll kind of put things away as we go, but we're going to first talk about some of these Notgeld coins. These were struck primarily out of porcelain and clay. They would have been more towards the 1921, 22, 23 era, and you'll notice that a lot of those dates on there are in that range. Some of these are also going to be clay. There's some neat colorization involved in a lot of them, and there's just tons of different German art that is involved. And basically what happened was, after World War I and during the end of World War I, there was a fair amount of Notgeld that was put in place because people needed to use it. So these were often pretty plain notes. I mean, and even if I pull, like, this one is a French note, Vie de Sedan, but you can tell, fairly circulated. Let's see if we can find any other examples over here. I mean, these are less circulated, but I'm trying to think, fair amount of circulation on something like this 10 Pfennig, even up to 1921. But it was pretty simple and straightforward, and people would just need to use them. But after a while, the German mints and towns and cities realized that there was pretty good collector demand for these Notgeld items, even if it wasn't like a crazy, many of these, and going back here, many of these, there's often really interesting pictorial, items on them, and there's beautiful, designs and not engraving, but like printing techniques with kind of a little less serious about making circulating money, and that carried over to the Notgeld. So even though these are like coin shaped, we have 1 mark from 1921 here, Stadt Altenburg. It could have been used as 1 mark or 3 mark, but in practice, most of these coins were being made for collectors. And then there was almost like blurring the lines between things, and it's interesting, there's a couple again here that are not going to be the classic brown and white porcelain. Let me just call a couple of those out there. Really interesting. Looks like a religious type 50 Pfennig from Gotha. We also see a couple of other just interesting designs. There we have 25 Notgeld from Hoon, 25 Pfennig. And then here's like a 1 mark in kind of a green porcelain, which is quite interesting. But this Lukau 75 Pfennig did not practically circulate in cash registers. And in a couple of cases, there's going to be some edge cases, that kind of thing. A lot of these smaller ones were struck with more like coin designs and coin denominations. So here, like that one, you can see maybe, but they're also vulnerable to scratches, a mark from Saxony or something like that. Love these designs, and I would totally collect these in earnest I do anyways, but to a greater extent if they were all made, call it during World War One, by American towns and cities. Now, these porcelain Notgeld that are a bit larger with intricate designs, many of them have these cross symbols that's like Meissen, which would have been porcelain making factory. These would be it was really the center of it, very much just sold to collectors again in the 1920s, and people were able to mark them up and make a profit, but people also really wanted them as collectibles. I mean, they're really beautiful metals. It makes me like I should try to go strike some coins that are vintage style, or make a whole commemorative series out of them. It could be really interesting to do that. I don't think that's practical. I was looking into the cost last night, but again, this is one of the most complete and fantastic collections of these that I've seen or ever come across, certainly in America. I'm sure that there's an American collector with more than this, but what I'm trying to say is having this quantity of really interesting, all different types of these metals is not something that I've seen, and I just absolutely love, whether it's the gilded design, some of the clay in the Winter Sport Week, Wintersportwoche, and there's, again, so much to commemorate. So with that being said, I may pull these aside and we'll get into, and just to call out, we also have a couple of these like larger size ones. I may live hunt some of the metals because I've not actually looked as closely at those yet. Let me see okay, it looks like all of this is still these Notgeld. The other thing, so on these 1 mark coins, I immediately sold 300 of the 1 marks and 150 of the half marks as I sorted them through. So as I went through, I tried to pick out, some of the nicer looking ones so that I could individually retail those. Those ones that I sold, I was making less than 10%. And so, I think that I probably on, call it 375 marks worth, might have made like $150. And so I think it was good, but it was just a way for me to reclaim some capital. Similarly, I sold some of these Notgeld, and I've talked them a fair amount. I did think that this was interesting. Schlesien, that's where my grandmother is from, so I was able to see some of the German history. But really, as all the way through, there were so many fantastic and interesting notes and series of notes. Look at this fascinating Liberty, and I said fascinating a couple of times there, but 1 mark, I mean, this is the type of German artistry that they would have been basically at this stage just trying to profit from being able to make these little series. You can often find that they would make some similar, that one looks like Chapel Hill, a bunch of similar notes that could have been struck for collectors who were trying to complete sets. I saw somewhere that there's over 80,000 types, and that does not surprise me. And so as a result, they're not like crazy expensive, and I think that makes them a great candidate for collectors to, it's something that collectors can have. This one's an interesting like linen note. It's going to be a little bit more expensive, but it's something that collectors can get behind and collect that doesn't break the bank. So you can put together a quick, really beautiful paper collection. There were also some of the evidence, so while the Notgeld was going on, of the serious hyperinflation. So 100 Milliarden Mark, 100 million marks, 1923 October. So that's in the context of, if these Notgeld spots are striking 3 mark coins, there's not too much value there. Here you can see 1923, 200,000 mark, and we have stories in my family of my great grandma carrying around literal wheelbarrows of cash to go to the grocery store. Here's 1923, and it just accelerates so quickly. So devastating to see that inflationary spiral. Here's like a large 100-mark note that would have been from 1910, I guess. I'm not sure if they had a revaluation Reichsbank note post the World War, but things get out of hand quickly. 5 million, but it goes quickly from a 20,000 to a 500 million, all within kind of the same year. And so it's very painfully obvious to see that devastation play out on their notes. Doesn't mean that they didn't make some interesting designs. So at this stage, I feel like from a monetary view, reasonably did well. This was a different collection. I think I had paid a bit over $10 a medal here, and so there should be some that would be like, there are some porcelain, which I think it's a great buy on a lot of the porcelain. A few of these on this collection are from kind of the 1960s, 1970s. There's a 10 mark. That one should be back from the 20s, 1921 or so. But then there's also a bunch of medals that I think are interesting. That one looks like some kind of, maybe it's Adam and Eve with the snake. And there's Jesus on the reverse. Most of these should be like 1800s to 1900s. I don't think that, like, there's some Renaissance medals that will go unbox, and those all should be still in the same, like, they should be restrikes. They're not originals. But for example, on this one, really interesting. You can see kind of this snake below, and as I try to date this one, I think that it actually might be struck around the time of Pius IX, so that would place this in the 1800s, which is going to be a bit older. This one, very intricate detail, is from dated to 1912, and I just have to say, a lot of the European metal artistry is fantastic. This one looks like it's maybe Hungarian, 1926 Budapest. And then here it looks like a jeton from probably one of the Krawinkels, Nuremberg, H.K. Hans Krawinckel. Let's see, 1888 dated, and that one's still in pretty good shape, Kaiser Friedrich. But there's always potential for there to be restrikes. That one, 1839. I mean, that's really nice detail. You never know if things are struck more recently than the 1839 dating on that one. So that will be something to look into. That's interesting. It looks like some kind of Christian scene with, maybe the birth of Jesus. 1911 Hygiene Ausstellung in Dresden. That's nice. Hold medal, Franklin, Muntien. Oh, interesting. 1833 Society for Portraits of Men, Useful Men. That could be a mistranslation. But a lot of these are very interesting, as you can see. There's going to be some that are worth a lot as I think about reselling most of this. 1835, there's also going to be some cool ones to hang on to. This one looks like War for Peace, more of an Israeli type from 1967. So again, it's not like everything here is going to be super old. Interesting square metal as well. This one, interesting. It looks like there's a jeton in the top corner there. This is a CAC metal. Okay, 1875. So again, is affirming that there's some older stuff in the mix. This one seems to maybe refer to some of the inflation. Ein Goldmark, 1 billion, 1923, yeah. And then this one looks like a little silver jeton. What does that even say? I'm not sure. Well, the silver octagonals are pretty fascinating. We've also got, okay, this one I had done a little bit of research on. This is Gold gab ich zur Wehr Eis, nahm ich zur Ehr. It's basically, these would have been given out to women in the World War I effort who would have given their gold jewelry for iron, and they would have been honored with this. So if you were wearing gold around your neck, you wouldn't be wearing this, and that would have been a bit shameful. So kind of a group shaming tactic, get people to turn their gold in. This reminds me of the 3-mark design in the Patriotenbund Leipzig 1913. Ooh, very nice eagle detail. Again, a lot of these medals are just fascinating. The Donjon de Vincent. Wow, Ouillet, 1789, but again, price struck sometime in the 1800s. That one looks like it's 1882 in pretty nice shape, and it's got a specific engraving. There's a lot of good stuff here. There's an interesting restrike post 1880, I believe, of a octagonal jeton. Franz or Max Joseph, some kind of medal there referencing Bavaria, another French medal, 1889 of the Eiffel Tower. That looks solid. A CAC medal, 1852. That one looks, argent, silver. That's good news. Let's see what else we might be able to find here. That's some nice French silver avoué, 1879 dated. Eiffel Tower is pretty great. 1860s of, a Norwegian type medal. Curious if this charm is like a real Chinese charm or not. I'm not sure. And then let's dive into some of these Renaissance medals, and then we'll wrap up with some of the paper. So we have, these are, I believe, all restrikes. If anything looks original, tell me, but I think that there's almost no way that these would be original. There are some larger other medals that are just kind of interesting. This is a Leopold, high relief, but then we also have some of like these nicer, beautiful Beaux-Arts style French. That one I think MDCCC XC 1894, but I think it would have been struck maybe in 1944 or so. Maybe it is 1894. Oliver Roti, he's the same who does the sewer design. Just beautiful. What else could we have? Here's La Vigne, a French style medal. That one looks like, is that Hindenburg? Tannenberg, 1925. So it would have been around the time that Hindenburg would have been in power. There's a 1913 dated Statue of Liberty. I remember this one, big lucky nickel. And so there's just a ton of different types here. Like this is, I'm less clear about, but it looks like it was struck sometime in the late 1800s to early 1900s. Can't be sure. Palais Barnès, possibly more modern metal, but there's not very much supply of these types of items in the States, and that one looks like it's struck sometime in the 1800s. It's so interesting. That one looks more Dutch, Netherlands metal. Medal de la Tour Eiffel, authentic certification. Interesting. I think it's the 1889, 1889 Parisian medal, and it's so interesting how it's even struck on this side. There were lots of medals struck around all those like exhibitions and that kind of thing. What is that? Something 1904. Anyways, 1910. A lot of interesting stuff. This one I couldn't tell exactly what was going on. It looks like some kind of Greek style coin medal, but no idea who's on this side. Maybe it's like a really crude Roma or something. Napoleon III, 1864. What else? Yeah, again, tons of fantastic medals. And I love these like plaque style ones with the different Beaux-Arts. That one is like 1923. Oh, that's more of an Argentinian medal, which I've gotten some of those in the past as well. Delpech, that is more of what I was thinking. We also have this massive porcelain or clay style Meissen medal, a little bit of a hit down there. Have never seen one that large in the limited time that I've known and kind of dived into the porcelain stuff. White metal pewter, interesting. And then over here, there was a little bit of foreign currency. I think these were interesting, like Third Reich, not official banknotes, but they would have been like almost personal loan guarantees. These Bedarfsdeckungsschein. And they would have been like personal notes that somebody would have explained what they were using them for kind of in emergency time periods. So, oh, I owe you 100 rice markets, kind of in lieu of official currency. And I thought that was a very interesting kind of time period. This would have been right around the 1930s, but I'm not sure if it would have been used all the way through World War II. And then, yeah, again, super interesting, tons of Notgeld, and last but not least, we've got hopefully a couple $100 in 1718. 30 Kreuzer. We got two of the different toned 3 marks, one from Prussia, one from Württemberg. Leading up to World War I in 1809, chop marked 8 reals from Mexico that would have circulated likely in China. The 1607 thaler. This one, it seemed like it's pretty well, they described it as rubbed, cleaned, maybe, I'm not sure if there's any tooling or anything like that going on, but certainly has worn down a fair bit over time, but still has that fascinating charging rider. And then also a thaler from 1768, 10 in a fine mark. So I think that this was an awesome hunt. Good use, in my opinion, of $9,000 have reclaimed at this stage. Well, I sold a little bit of the porcelain too, probably a little less than half the value, and I think that the rest of it is going to bode really well, especially as I get more knowledgeable around the Notgeld, figure out which of these metals are really the keepers, and learn a little bit more about this porcelain too. Thanks so much, and I'll keep unboxing basically everything that I get as it makes its way to me. Thanks for watching the video. Make sure to head on over to treasuretown.com and sign up for our email list to stay up to date on everything that's happening, whether it's auction updates, exciting new inventory drops, coin collecting news, or general informational resources. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on another one.